Okay, so this is kind of the breaking news segment clip from the first week of trial. Something that had been alluded to in several different places on social media, etc., is that a motion for mistrial had been filed. It was under seal, but that motion came out from under seal at the end of the day today, after the last witness was called, after the jury had been excused for the weekend. Judge Brown heard the motion for mistrial. The attorneys made arguments about it. And so I'm going to summarize what happened, basically. A couple things happened over the course of the last couple of days, especially yesterday with Chad Carges' testimony. And so trying to lay a little bit of background there, the evidence in question that was considered to be highly prejudicial to the extent that it could justify a mistrial started coming out first with Sheriff Dave Ward's testimony a day or two earlier. And what happened there was Attorney Marcus Mumford for Ammon Bundy was cross-examining Sheriff Ward, and he was, according to Mumford, he was asking yes or no questions on cross-examination. And in response to one of those yes or no questions, and this had to do with the research that he had done about Ammon Bundy, Ryan Payne, their background, that sort of thing, Sheriff Ward, in response to a yes or no question, basically just blurted out, well, they were in Bunkerville, and we all know that lots of bad stuff happens at Bunkerville because a couple of people who were associated with Bunkerville went to Las Vegas and murdered a couple of police officers there. And so, yeah, it scared the hell out of me. And he, in response to a yes or no question, he basically blurted out that long narrative answer that was considered to be highly prejudicial and should have been objected to. And so that kind of laid the groundwork for concern about that sort of thing. And then the next thing that happened was akin to that yesterday in Chad Carges' testimony, when he was similarly being cross-examined and asked the same sorts of questions, and he was basically explaining his thought process and what kind of influenced his decision about closing the refuge, telling the employees not to go to work, that sort of thing. He again made references not only to Bunkerville, but also to some threat somewhere that someone might kidnap a federal employee. And so those two basically pieces of evidence that came in that were non-responsive formed the basis for the motion for a mistrial. And what Attorney Mumford argued is that he felt like those witnesses, number one, they were adverse witnesses on behalf of the government. He felt like they had been coached to do that. He felt like they were basically laying in wait to have an opportunity to basically blurt out this highly prejudicial information like that the jury would then hear and have to consider. And so, and again, it's not the sort of thing that is not uncommon to make a motion for a mistrial over. The judge's job is to try to control that sort of thing and make sure that highly prejudicial statements, inflammatory statements, that sort of thing, don't come into evidence and to prevent that from happening. But when it happens in that manner, when the answer is non-responsive to the question, and that's the argument that Attorney Mumford was making. Judge Brown took some time to think about that this afternoon. She issued a ruling from the bench. She concluded that it was not grounds for mistrial. She didn't know whether it was even sufficient grounds to give an admonition to the jury to disregard that. She had already given a previous admonition to the jury with respect to Sheriff Ward's testimony in that regard. At the time, she gave them an admonition. And so what Attorney Mumford was asking for, in addition to a mistrial, was basically additional instructions to the jury, particularly with respect to Mr. Carges' testimony about that would help alleviate any potentially prejudicial effect, and also that she would give an instruction to the prosecution and to their witnesses that they shouldn't attempt to do anything like that going forward in the trial. So I may come back with another first week wrap-up clip, but that basically is the breaking news about the motion for mistrial. It was filed, it was argued, the judge denied it, and that's how the week ends.